Hi, my name is Cengage. I'm recording this video for OIS200, completing your first Cengage assignment. Once you're logged into Moodle, browse down to the first available due Cengage assignment, Excel Module 1, SAM Textbook Project. And if you notice, if you look at the different days, there'll be assignments due. So select the one that's appropriate for the one you're trying to complete. So Excel Module 1. Once it opens up, you verify you're in the right assignment, and then also just a reminder that you will be using a file you download from Cengage, not creating a new blank file. So go ahead and press start. And right here, you should arrive at step 1 of 2. Just a reminder, you want to download the instructions, which is the e-textbook, and you also want to download the start file. I'm just going to move this window out of the way. We want to download the start file that we're going to work in. So once the start file is downloaded, I want to open it. We want to enable editing so we could modify the file. Otherwise, you would not be able to modify it. And then I want to bring up the instructions to complete the assignment. You can use the resource of the internet to look up how to do some of these steps. You also have your book. If you hover over this table of contents, get it started with Excel. This is Module 1. So we're in 1-6. So there's 1-1 through 1-5. Some of the steps that are involved in this assignment. So if you need to review, go ahead and look through the ebook. Okay, so we're going to go back to 1-6. And this little icon here, SAM, is where we're starting. Most of your assignments will start. The page that they start on will have a SAM icon on it. I wish they would make this a little more prominent, but this is what it is. Okay, so we're going to skip these 4 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4. This all involves creating a new book and a new workbook, and that's what this Excel file took the place of. I'll go ahead and explain what they want us to know here. Okay. So go ahead and navigate to the next page, and we'll start completing the assignment. So step 1, rename the worksheet 1 worksheet. The sheet 1 worksheet. Double click the sheet 1 tab to select the text of the sheet name. And they want us to type miscellaneous expenses as the new name and press enter. Okay, I'm going to move these instructions off of the screen. So double click it and type in okay. And just make sure you're spelling it correctly, because Sam will mark it wrong if it's not spelled correctly, because it looks for the correct spelling. So if it's not in there correct, it will mark it wrong. Go ahead and press enter. And you just completed step 1 and 2. Okay. So the next set of instructions are to insert and name the document and cite information worksheets. To the right of the Miscellaneous Sheets tab, click the New Sheet button. Okay, let's do that. So it comes up with a new sheet. Double click the Sheet 2 tab and type documentation as the new name, and then press enter. So same step we did before, double click, and then you want to type in documentation, press enter. To the right of the documentation sheet, click the new sheet button, and then rename the inserted sheet 3 worksheet to cite information. Okay, same step, we're going to click new sheet, double click, and we're going to type in cite information and press enter. Okay, so this is how you add sheets and also how you name them. If you want these worksheets to be zoomed to 120 to match the figures, go okay. So the zoom, let me show you the zoom. It's down here in the lower right hand corner. You could zoom using the plus or minus buttons, and this will increase or decrease the zoom by 10%. Yep. Each click. Okay, and each sheet can have its own zoom setting. There's different ways you could do zoom, right? You could press Ctrl, press and hold the Control key and roll the mouse, the wheel on your mouse up or down, and it'll increase it by 15%. Okay, so let's advance to the next page. Okay. 1-6B, moving worksheets. Point to the documentation sheet. The sheet tab name changes to bold. Okay. So we're on site information. This is the active sheet because it's bold and it's green. Go ahead and click on documentation, and it's the active sheet because it's green and it's bold. Press and hold the mouse button upon it changes. Okay, so we're going to move this sheet. Okay. Let me move this out of the way, speaking of move. Okay, so they want us to press documentation, so we want the mouse pointer to be on documentation. Press and hold down your left mouse key. Okay, and you see right here, my mouse changed to, it's a little arrow in the upper left hand corner. You press and hold the left mouse key, and then you drag it until this little arrow goes right in front of the miscellaneous sheet tab. And when you release it, it moves the tab. So you can move the tabs around. So documentation should be, your first sheet in this book. You don't do this, or you could play around with it, but if you do the same thing, press and hold on documentation, you can actually move it to other places in the worksheet. So I'm going to just move it back to where they want us at the beginning, is where you should have it. Okay. So step 3, drag to the left until the arrow. Okay. Documentation sheet is now the first sheet. Okay, so we're done with 1-6B. Moving on to 1-6C, deleting worksheets. Right click on the site information sheet. Okay. Right click. Okay. So when you right click on it, it makes it the active sheet, and it brings up a menu. Click delete. So make sure you're on the site information sheet. Right click, select delete. Once you delete a sheet tab, it's generally not recoverable. You cannot get this sheet tab back. There are revisions on files that you could restore stuff, but sheet tabs are not one of them. So if you're going to delete it, make sure that you want it off of the sheet. This is not part of the assignment right here, but I'll show you. If you right click on top of miscellaneous, you also have the hide option. So if you don't want somebody to see a sheet, or you don't want the sheet to be available, you could always hide it. And you can see here it disappeared. If you right click on any active sheet and select unhide, it would show you which sheets were hidden in this workbook, and you could bring them back. So you could double click or select OK. This is not part of the assignment, I was just showing you. Okay, moving on to 1-6D. On the quick access toolbar, click Save, the Save As screen, and Backstage View options. Okay, so they want us to click Save. Let's see here. Okay, you could do Save. I like to do Save As, especially if you're not too familiar with where you're saving files and what the name is, right? So to get started, I want to do Save As. I want to browse to a place on my computer that I want to save files. I want to I'm saving it to my desktop just for ease. And I've started a folder called Nichols or Nick. Okay, so step 4, in the file name box, select book 1, which the instructions still believe that we created this blank workbook. Okay. If it is not already selected, and then type in, so we want to change the name of this file. In the file name, we want it to be np underscore px underscore 1 underscore misc as the new name. Okay, this name's going to be changed when we go to submit the assignment, so don't be too concerned with it. Okay, and then press save, and then you should be able to verify at the top of your file the name is changed. Okay, so step 6, we already did step 6 through the process. Okay. 1-7, entering text, dates, and numbers. Okay, so we're gonna work with text formatting, text strings, numeric data, and date and time. So this is where we are. I'll just pause a second and bring over the screen just to let you see. I'm on 1-7A. And here we're going to enter text into the document sheet. Okay, I'm going to put this over to my second monitor. Okay, so I want to make sure you're in the right sheet. So click on the documentation sheet. You know it's the active sheet because it's green and it's bold. I'm going to increase the zoom on my worksheet a little larger to 120 just to make it easier to see. Okay, so you can click anywhere within your worksheet and the active cell will be bordered on all four sides. Step 1, the instructions are press Ctrl and the home key at the same time, and this will make sure that you are brought to A1, which is the active cell. Okay, so anytime you're in a worksheet, anywhere in the worksheet, if you press Ctrl Home, it'll bring you to A1. So the instructions are, they want you to type in MED-IT, right? In cell A1. Back up one step here. Okay. Press enter twice. So you should be in A3 at the moment. Type author. Step 4, type author in cell 3 and then press tab. So we want to go to the right. Text is entered and the active cell moves one column to B3. Step 5, type your name in cell B3. Type your name in B3 and then press enter. The text is entered and the active cell moves one cell down to the left to cell A4. Type date in cell A4 and then press tab. Okay, so you get the idea. Step 7, press enter to make A5 the active cell. And you want to type in purpose and then press tab, and then you want to type in to estimate expenses at that MED-IT convention. Okay, so go ahead and type that in cell B5 right here. Okay, moving on. We are on 1-7B, undoing and redoing actions. On the quick access toolbar, click undo or press Ctrl Z. So the quick action toolbar is in the upper left hand corner of the screen. This arrow is the undo arrow. So we want to, they want us to click, let's see. Okay, so they want us to click undo. Go ahead and click it so it removes the information we typed in. Okay. Step 2. Type to estimate miscellaneous expenses at the Med convention in Boston. Okay. And then press enter, and B5 should be your active cell. 1-7C, editing cell content. Double click cell B5. To select the cell and switch to edit mode. Okay. So when you select a cell, you normally in enter mode, right? So you could type in information. If you double click in a cell, then you're in edit mode to be able to edit information within the cell without replacing it. So if you type before, it would replace the content. So you could use your left or right arrows and needed to move the insertion point directly to the right or left, right? So you can move and make modifications where you need to be. Okay, so you want to put the insertion point directly to the right of the word convention. Okay, so you should be right after the N in convention. Press the backspace 10 times to delete the word convention. So you want to delete the word convention. And you want to type in conference. Press enter. So you're back to ready mode. 1-7D, understanding autocomplete. Click the Miscellaneous Expenses Sheet tab to make Miscellaneous Expenses the active sheet. So down at the bottom, click Miscellaneous Expenses. In cell A1, so you want to make sure you're in A1. I'm going to increase my zoom so it's easier to read. They want us to type in Med Conference Miscellaneous Expenses as the worksheet title. Okay, so in A1, taking a shortcut here. I'm just copying and pasting it in. I'm not typing it in as the worksheet title, and then press enter twice. So A3 is the active cell. Type in host in cell A3 and then press enter. The active cell should be A4. So step 4, in the range A4 through A8, enter the following labels, pressing enter after each entry and ignoring any autocomplete suggestions. So we're going to type in, let's see, A4, we're going to type in addressed. Press enter, the city, state, postal code, phone. So make sure you press enter after each one so it increments down. Then you want to click on step 5, you want to click cell B3 to make it the active cell. So we're on step 6, in the range B3 to B8, enter the following information about the conference site, pressing enter after each entry, ignoring any autocomplete suggestions. So that means you want to type it out. You do not want to use the suggestions that it may provide you. Okay, so you're starting in B3. So first one is Harbor. So it's Convention Center. Okay, Convention Center. Oh, okay, I have this wrong. Let me, my mistake here. I was supposed to put this all together. So it's Harbor Convention Center, and then the address is 1082 Suncrest Avenue. And instead of typing it, I'm going ahead and copying and pasting some of this from the book. If you're familiar and comfortable with copying and pasting, you could do that to cut down some of your time. I mean, the most important part to me is that you know how to do the steps to get the formatting and information into the document. Whether you use text to speech, you type it in, or you use copy and paste is not a big concern to me, actually. So you do want to make sure that you have the right formatting when you're typing, because the assignment checker will definitely look for spelling, and it looks for formatting. For example, in this number, if you didn't put spaces, it would mark it wrong. It would say the number is not valid. So it will be pretty particular about that. Okay. So it's also saying whenever you copy or whenever you type in the postal code, even if you type in a 0 in front of the 2 right here, because of the way this cell is formatted, it probably doesn't know it's a postal code. It's probably formatted as a number, not text. So you probably just want to leave it without the 0. We're going to come back and correct it. Moving along to 1-7E, click cell B7. Okay, that's what we're going to do right now. The number is right aligned to the cell, so it's to the right of the cell. On the Home tab in the number group, okay, so we're going to go to Home tab, and in the number group here, click the number format arrow. A list of number display options appear. Okay. Scroll down the list and then click text. Anything entered in the cell will now be considered text. So when you have text formatted for the cell, anything you type, it will be as you typed it. If it's formatted as a number or something different, like it dropped the 0. So it was probably general, and it probably just dropped the 0. So now we're going to go ahead and step 4 and type in the number again. So 02128. And when you make it my active cell. Okay, here we go. 02128. When you press enter, the leading 0 is still there. Okay. Go ahead and to the next set of instructions, 1-7F, entering dates. If you're not familiar with the dates formats in Excel, go ahead and read the information. Okay, to enter a date into the documentation sheet, click the documentation sheet. So go ahead and make sure we're on the right sheet. Click cell B4, right under your name. Make sure to active cell and type in the date using the format of month, day, and the year, 4 digits format. Okay, do not, and press enter. I'm sorry. Okay, so 0816. Okay, So you see the date is entered. It dropped the leading 0. It's not necessary. Okay. Step 3. Click the Miscellaneous Expenses sheet tab to return to the Miscellaneous Expenses. So down at the bottom, make sure you're on the right sheet when you're doing these steps. Otherwise, you may get lost. The next part of the Miscellaneous Expenses worksheet will list the miscellaneous expenses that will be tracked. Okay. You will enter the first 3 columns of this table into the worksheet. So in this miscellaneous sheet, starting at A10, type in expense category. Okay. Expense category. And then press tab to go to B10. Now there are ways, and we're going to do it in this assignment, but there are ways when you're typing this to go ahead and make a column width, adjust it to the text that's in here so it doesn't overrun on the different cells, which I wish they would do it as we go, but they're not. So just bear with us as we go through this. Step 2, type in subcategory in cell B10. So in B10, you go ahead and type in subcategory and then press tab. You should go to C10, type in description. And press enter. Okay, so step 3, in the range A11, so right here, A11 through C15. Enter the expense category, subcategory, description text for the 5 miscellaneous expenses listed in figure 1-16, pressing tab to move from cell to the next and pressing enter to move to the new row. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to enter this information in. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we're going to enter in this information, expense category, subcategory, and description, and we're going to start in A11. I believe that's what it said. Let's see. Yeah, A11. So let's start entering information. E2. Press tab, 9010, and then you want to type in the description. When you finish with the description, press enter, and then continue entering the information. Okay, so once you have that information entered, we're going to move over to 1-7G. Okay, so step 1. Click cell B10. So on row, so in case you don't know, I guess we didn't explain it, but so letters in the Excel sheet are columns and numbers are rows. So when they refer to a row, you're talking about the numeric rows horizontally, the columns go vertically. So, and cell is the intersection of the letter and the number. So D10. And you want to type in units. Press tab to go to E10, and you want to type in cost per unit in E10. Let's see how I have this. I don't know that it takes off if you don't have the right upper or lowercase settings. So you want to press, so after E10, okay, so after E10 we want to press enter. Okay, so top unit in E10 and then press enter, cell D11 becomes the active cell. So you want to make sure you're in the right cell. So D11. So the confusing part of this, if you haven't worked in Excel before, is you see we're in D11 right now. When you select it as active cell, there's no information in this formula bar. If you go to C11, this is where all of these words are actually in C11. It's just the column width is not wide enough. It's not set correctly. So if you're not used to working in Excel, this could confuse you. But just go to D11 and start typing what they're going to tell us to type in here. It's not going to mess up your information. So in D11, step 3, you want to type in 1600. 1600. In cell 11, D11, and press tab. And go ahead and type in $2.45. And then press enter. And you should be in D12. You just want to make sure you're in the right cell when you're proceeding. Okay. So step 4, in the range D12 to E15, enter the number of units and cost per unit for the remaining expense category. So I'm going to bring over the instructions here. So right now we're working with, we just typed in 1600 and $2.45. We're going to continue going down. So you could do it. I mean, the book may tell you to do it in a certain order, but if you want to type in all of the units and then all of the dollar amounts, you could do it in any order. You just need to get it that this is the end result. Okay, so go ahead and enter that information, and we'll pick up. Okay, so once you have the information entered, step 5 is on the quick access toolbar, click the save button. So since you have the workbook saved already, I know I have it saved to a folder on my desktop. Since it's not the first time we're saving it, I'm going to use the save button as instructed. Okay, but if you use the save as button, it should bring you to the current workbook. So right here you can see it's on my desktop. It's in a folder called Nick, and this is the file name. Okay, so it says, hey, this is where you have the file currently. Okay, let's move on. Step 1-8, resizing columns and rows. So here is where your information will be a little clearer to which columns and rows they're in. So we're on step 1-8A, setting a column width. Step 1, let's make sure we're on the right sheet. Yep, okay. Point to the right border of column A until the pointer changes. Okay. So this is column A, and this is the border right here. Let's see, let me make this a little bigger. So A, B, C, D, these are the columns, and this thin line is the border. So when you're over A, it's showing the down arrow. When you're on top of the border, it's showing a cross with the arrows horizontally. So they want you to hover over the border until your insertion point changes to this cross. Okay. So you want to left click and drag to the right until the width of the column header reaches 18. So you can see the numbers. It's telling you what the width is in pixels, right? So you want to go to 18, and it can be approximate, not to be exactly. You can get it to be exact. Sometimes it's a little touchy, and then you release it. Okay, and it changes the width. So this is one way. This is one way to adjust the column width. If you want to eye it up, if you're not sure, there's the different ways have different there's different reasons you'd want to use the different methods. I'll put it to you that way. Okay. So if you're curious to see what it is once you released it, when you hover over it and you click on your left mouse, it should actually tell you what it is, and then just release it. Okay, so I'm looking at step 2. It's actually telling you to click and drag to the right until the width of the column heading reaches 18 characters, but do not release the mouse button. The screen tip that appears as you resize the column shows the new column width in characters and pixels. Okay. Release the mouse button, the width of the column A expands to 18 characters, and all the text within the column is visible within the cells. Which is true. That is true. Okay. So step 1, click the column B. The entire column is selected. Okay. So if you wanna select a cell to make it an active cell, like B1, you click the cell. If you want to select the entire column, you select the letter B, or the letter of the column. Okay. On the Home tab in the Cells group, click the Format button and then click Column Width. Okay, so on the Home tab, we're going to Alright, so on the Home tab, you're going to click the Format button, and you see one of the options is Column Width. And here, it also displays what the current setting is, and we're instructed to set it to 12. So just type in 12. You can select OK or press Enter, and it will actually expand the column width. Step 5, click cell A2. Okay, so select cell A2 to deselect column B. So we are going to work with the Autofit feature. So Autofit will actually, when you double click on the column border, it'll actually size the column to the greatest width of any text or information in that column. So step 1, point to the right border of column C. It's column C. I'm going to point to the right border, and the pointer is going to change to the cross with the arrows horizontally. And if you double left click the column, it'll auto fit it to the widest cell information, right? So C11 is printing of brochures and conference materials. So it just auto fit it, right? It auto adjusted. Okay. Step 3, double click the right border of column E. The width of column E increases to 12. So column E, you don't have to select the column, you can just hover over it, double click it. So you can see, I'll go back. So right now the cost of the unit looks like it's blending over to column F. It's over top of it, it's really not in it. So if you double click the column border, it'll right size it, it'll auto adjust it, whatever words you want to use. The only thing that's really tricky in this, sometimes the text and wording and numbers, the information in a cell is fairly long, and if it is a lot of characters and you don't have something called word wrap selected, it could adjust this column to where it goes off the screen and you can't see it, and you'd have to scroll for a good bit. But we're dealing with a limited amount of information, so we're good here. Okay, let's move on. 1-8B, wrapping text cell within wrapping text within a cell. Step 1, resize the width of column C to 30 characters. Okay. So column C, we're going to highlight column C, and if we go ahead, make sure we're in the right sheet. Yep. If you right click on column C, there's a column width setting here. If you click on it, it's all good. It's just like going to the Format section on the Home tab. Go ahead and type in 30. And you can see how it shortens it up, right? It narrows the width of column C, and all of the text in column C is no longer visible. Okay, so we want to select the range of C11 through C15. So C11, right? So you want to press and hold down your left mouse key and drag it to C15 and then release it. What this does is selects multiple cells, and you want to make sure when you do this that you're not doing it on the border. You see how your mouse changes to the cross with the arrows on all four sides? You actually can move the information in that cell. You just want to make sure the cell is highlighted and you're selecting in the middle of it, right? Just position your cursor in the middle, hold down the mouse, and drag through C11 to C15. On the Home tab, okay, in the alignment group, there's an option to wrap text. So what this does is if the text is wider or is greater than the width of the column, it'll actually increase the row height and the text will continue, kind of like pressing enter in a Word document. Okay, so when I press wrap text, you can see it did it here for printing of brochures and conference materials. Okay. Click cell A2 to make it an active cell. Okay. 1-8, changing row heights. To change the row height is pretty much the same thing as a column width, except you're doing it for the row. So the areas to go to make the changes are pretty much the same. So you want to, in step 1, point to the bottom border of row 14. So row 14, you don't have to select it, I'm just showing you. You want to go to the bottom border, and when your insertion point changes to the cross, and this time if you notice the arrows are horizontally positioned, meaning that you're working with the row positioning, you want to drag the bottom border up until the row height is equal to 18 points. So go ahead and left click and hold down, and you want to drag it up till it gets to approximately 18, and then release it. Okay, and there's multiple ways you could do this. I mean, you could, if you want to, you could right click the row and then go to row height, and you could type in 18 here. It's a different way to do it. It's probably more precise, and if you're aggravated because you can't hit the exact number, that might be a different way to do it, but that's one way to get there. And most times when you're working with worksheets, somebody's not telling you to set it to a specific row height, row column width. I mean, you gotta set it to what works. So it's just really for you to know how to do it. Step 3, press Ctrl S to save the workbook. Since we already have it saved, go ahead and press the Save button at the top on the Quick Access toolbar. Okay. So 1-10, we're gonna start working with formulas. If you haven't worked with formulas before, you might want to review the information on this sheet for some of the examples. Go ahead and read through this to get maybe a better understanding of how formulas work in Excel. Okay, so to enter a formula that calculates the total of printing, step 1. Okay, you want to make sure you are on the Miscellaneous Sheet tab. Click cell F10. Let's see, F10, okay. So you want to click F10 and type in total. And then press enter. So step 3, you want to type in equals, which signifies the start of a formula, D11 times E11. And as you're typing it in, you can see the cell. The cell is denoted by a color, so this is blue or purple, whatever it is. You can see this is D11, and this is E11 is the red. So it's just helping you verify that you have the right cell selected in your formula. Okay, so go ahead and press enter, and it calculates 1,600 units at a cost of $2.45. Okay, step 5, click cell F11. So you want to make sure this is active cell. Okay, so when you click on F11, it's showing you the result of the formula, but if you look in the formula bar at the top, it's actually showing you the formula that you entered. Okay, picking up with entering your formula to calculate the cost of shuttle using the mouse. Okay, step 1, click cell F12. Type equals to indicate that you're entering a formula. Okay, so this time we're not going to type in the cell. We're actually going to select it using the mouse. So you want to select D12. And it's going to continue selecting anything, entering anything you select until you hit a different operator. So D12 is entered. And we want to multiply it, so we're going to hit times. And then we want to select E12. So you can see the pattern here. And then when you press enter, it gives you the result of $1,007.25. Okay. Moving on. 1-10B, copying and pasting formulas. So these are the different ways you can enter formulas. You could enter cells indirectly. You could select them using the mouse, and or you could use copying, pasting formulas. Because as you can see right here, all of the formulas we're using are units times cost per unit, giving you your total. So definitely you could go ahead and type in these. You could select them with your mouse, but there are different ways to speed up the process and make this more efficient, so you're not working with the formulas, you're actually getting the result, working with the results. So to copy and paste the formula in cell F12. So click cell F12. So F12. You want to make sure you're on the right one. Okay, on the home tab in the clipboard, click copy. So you could definitely go on the home tab and go to the clipboard and click copy. If you have this cell selected, you could right click on it and select copy. Or you could use Ctrl C for copy, and you can see how it borders the cell, which means it has been copied to the clipboard. Okay. So you want to select the range F13. So you want to press and hold it, hold your left mouse key, and then you want to drag it down to F15. And when you release it, they're all selected. And then you want to paste it in, so you could right click it and use your paste key, or you could use Ctrl B, and it actually puts the formula in and completes it for you. Okay. So when you click and select F13, you can see at the top the formula is D13 times E13, and when you go to row 14, it's D14 times E14. Let's see, is this right? Yep. Okay. So it auto-completed it for you, basically. So basically, it looked at this formula and said, okay, I see what you're doing. You're using D12 times E12. So if you copy that formula down to here, so we're copying the formula, not the value. It's saying, I see what you're doing. You're going D to E on each row. So I'm going to do this for the other rows, and that's where you highlight it, right? So if we copied it down to here, this would have been 0 because there's no values in this row either. Okay, moving on, calculating with functions. So if you're not familiar with functions, you want to get familiar with this and read over 1-11. Basically, it's telling you, instead of doing a cell plus a cell plus a cell all the way through, especially when they're, A through 10, they're concurrent, then you could use the sum or equal sum A through, which is a semicolon, 10. You get the same result. It's just you do not have to type all these cells in. You don't have to select all the cells. Just as you get more familiar with Excel, these efficiencies and maybe shortcuts will become a little more natural to you. But it's going to take some time. I mean, if you haven't worked with Excel much, don't expect to pick it up right away. If you do, good. If not, then don't get too frustrated about it. As you work with it, it's something that just comes through working with it more and more. So we're on 1-11B. Step 1, click cell E16. Okay. Make sure we're in the right one, E16. So you just saw how, let's go back one. Okay. So E16. And type in subtotal. So there we go, subtotal. And then press tab. So in the home tab, in the editing group, go to home tab. And we're going to go to editing. There's the Autosum. You want to select the arrow, down arrow. And you can see there's different options. We could sum this. We could take the average of it. We could count how many times it appears, the min, the max. So it's different auto options for you. So we want to click sum. Okay, and then you want to go ahead and press enter, and it'll give you the sum of these numbers right here. So if you click on F16, you can see it's the sum of F11 through F15. Okay. One other way I'll show you is if you highlight the numbers you're trying to add or average, down at the bottom of your Excel sheet, it automatically tells you there's 5 values in the range you selected. The sum is this, right? The average is this. So if you create a formula and you're not sure if it's correct, you could always highlight the values you're trying to analyze, and you can see, cross-check it right here to make sure your formula is correct. This is a pretty straightforward example, but it could come in handy. Okay, so Cameron wants to include a 5% sales tax on the miscellaneous expenses. You will calculate the tax and then add the subtotal value to the tax. To calculate the sales tax and total expenses, click cell E9. So E9, okay, and type in tax rate. So we're gonna type in a standard tax rate. I'm gonna type in 5 and then use percent and then press enter. Step 3, click cell E17. So we're gonna be E17. Okay, we want to type in estimated EST tax. And we want F17 to be the active cell. Okay, so we're going to create a formula to calculate the tax. So the formula we want to create is, they're giving it to us, so it equals F9. Okay, so you could type it in or you could select it with your mouse pointer, it's up to you, times F16, the subtotal. Okay, when you press enter, it's taken the subtotal times the tax rate of 5% to give you this amount of tax. Okay. Cell E18. So E18, type in total, and then press tab, and you want to type in the formula equals sum. You can see right here, once you start typing, it wants to know, hey, sum is a part of all of these formulas. Which one do you want? Once you type the open parentheses, it narrows it down to just that formula. It knows you pick sum. And it's helping you out here. It says, hey, you have to have a number, and then a number, and then a number. If you want to add, add some, you have to have two numbers at minimum. So we're typing in equals sum, open parentheses, F16, and they're using semicolon to F17. Okay. Now you type in or insert the close parentheses, and if you don't, you can just hit enter. It automatically inserts it for you. It knows what you're doing. So when you have the subtotal and the estimated tax, your total comes out to this total here, and you could verify it in step 6. It gives you what it should be. Okay. Moving on, modifying a worksheet. All right, 1-12A, moving and copying a cell or range. Step 1, select the range E16, okay, to F18. Point to the bottom border of the cell to select the range. You can see your insertion point is going to turn to the cross with 4 arrows. Press and hold the mouse button to change the pointer. You press and hold it, and then drag the selection down 1 row. Do not release the mouse button. Okay. And a screen tip appears indicating the new range of the selected cells will be E17 to F19. A dark green border will also appear around the new range. Okay, so you want to release it now. Okay, so moving down to cut and paste the range A3 to F19. So we want to click the name box of the left to the left of the formula bar. Type A3 to F19. So this is the formula bar up here, and this is the name box. So it's telling you which cell name is the active cell. And you want to type in A3 semicolon A3 to F19, and then press enter. So what it does, it selects everything that you have to select. But look, I'll tell you this, I mean, to manually do it, you press and hold down the left mouse key, and you highlight everything you want to highlight, then you release it. Which is doing the same thing. Okay, so step 2, on the Home tab, in the clipboard group, click Cut, or press Ctrl X. Okay, so you could use Ctrl X, or you could right click and select Cut. And then you see the information you selected, the border is active, showing that this information is copied to the clipboard. It's been cut or copied. In this instance, it's been cut. It's going to be moved. So click cell A7. Okay. This is the upper left corner of the range where you want to paste the range. So this means instead of A3 being the top of the range, we want A7 to be the top of the range. So you'll have empty rows in between. So from here, you could right click and select paste, or you could, and this is showing you what's going to happen if you select paste. So I'm going to move off of it. Okay. So if you right click, select paste, it's giving you a preview of it. Or you could do Ctrl V, which is the shortcut to paste. Okay. So now we have these empty rows. The information has been moved. So 1-13, using the count and sum functions. Scroll up the worksheet, click cell A3. Okay. You want to make sure you double click it if you have to, A3, and you want to type in summary. As a label, and then press enter. You want to type in expense categories as the next label. Okay. And then you want to press tab. So you want to end up in B4. So in cell B4, type equals count, open parentheses. So we want to count. We don't want to sum it, we want to count, right? So we want to select the range F15 to F19. So we've got column F, 15 to 19. Okay. And then go ahead and press enter. So it's telling us between F15 and F19 there's 5 entries. That's what this is telling you, 5 expense categories. Okay, in cell A5, we want to type in total expenses. Okay, press tab, and then we want to type in B5, we want to type in equals F23. Okay, so you could have F23 here. It shows you what the number is going to be. It's going to be exactly what's in cell F23. Instead of typing, you could also just click on this cell and it would produce the same result. Okay, 1-14A, inserting rows and columns. Scroll down and click row 18. Okay. On the Home tab, in the Sales group, click Insert button. You could certainly do it that way. You could use the shortcut Ctrl-Shift plus equal. So Ctrl-Shift equal, or you could just right-click on the row and tell it to insert a row. To me, is the easiest way. So there's a new blank row 18. So you want to enter here. You want to enter E2. Tab 9025, and then you want to enter the information flowers for the banquet tables. So you want to enter in D1820, use tab 1250, so you want to use enter 1250. Okay, so that was step 3. Step 4, copy the formula from F17 and paste it into F18. The formula equals V18 times E18, entered into cell F17. Okay, so let's do this, copy and paste. Okay, so you could do Ctrl-C, go down 1, you can just press enter, or Ctrl-V. or you could do copy, and then after you copy it, the paste becomes available, and paste. Okay. All right, so it's telling you it should be $250. Step 5, increase the width of column F to 12. So if you notice down here, your total is a bunch of pound signs. If you hover over it, it tells you the value. So really what this is telling you is that there's more information in this column than it can display. So that means the width is not correct. It wants us to adjust the column width to 12. So easiest way for me would be to double click and auto fit it. But if it wants a certain width, I'm going to go ahead and right click on it, use column width, and adjust it to 12. Press enter. Okay, step 1-14B. To delete the transportation shuttles row from the worksheet, click row 16. Okay, you want to make sure the entire row is selected. If you just hit the delete button on your keyboard, it just deletes the information. It doesn't delete the row. So I'm going to undo this step. You want to make sure the entire row is selected. And it's telling you on the Home tab, you can click the delete button. The way I normally like to do it is the shortcut Ctrl- or right click on the row. And just like you inserted a new row, you could delete the entire row. And it deletes the information in the row itself. Okay. And then you can see the total down here adjusted for taking that information out. And then the total expense amount up here adjusted as well. Okay, 1-14C, inserting and deleting a range. So step 1, select the range 813 through 823. Using any method. On the Home tab in the Sales group, click Insert Arrows, and menu will appear. Alright, so we want to make sure we have 813 through 823 selected. We want to go to the Home tab, all the way to the right. There's an Insert Cells option. And you want to select Insert Cells. And right here is asking you, there's information in the cells. What do you want to do? Okay, we want to verify that the cells will shift to the right. So shift cells to the right, okay, and select OK. So the information that was here, it moved it over, but you can see the formatting is out of whack. So going down to step 6, it's saying change the width of column B to 18 characters. So we want to select the whole entire column, right click on it, column width, and we want to change it to 18. The width of column C to 12. Okay, right click, column width, 12. And the width of D to 36. 36. And the width of columns F and G to 14. Okay, so this is a little trick as well. You could do one at a time, or you could left click one column and drag to the next, and then you have both of them selected, and you could right click and go to column width, and it's not showing a number because they're different sizes already, but go ahead and type in 14 and it'll adjust both columns to 14. Okay, so step 7 is asking us to select rows 15 through 19. Okay, so 15, go ahead and select row 15, and go ahead and if you press your shift key, hold it down, and then click on 19, it selects row 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, so everything in between. That's one way to do it. You could also select 15 and hold down Ctrl and keep clicking on each row until you have them all selected. There's multiple ways to do it. It wants you to adjust the row height, and it wants you to use the Autofit row height. So if you remember, you can right click on any of these rows and you could adjust the row height using the numbers, right? They want us to auto fit it. So what I would do is I would double click on any border that you have selected, and it will auto fit the height on every one of the rows. Okay, back up a step. Let's see if it's gonna let me do it. Okay, so it's not gonna let me undo it, but so basically what you're doing is 15 to 19. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to change the height on them. And if you want to auto fit, auto adjust the heights, you could select any one of these borders. When the cursor changes, double click it, and it'll auto fit every one of the rows to the height needed for that row. Okay, so you can see 15 is different than 16, 17, and 18 and 19. Okay, so step 9, resize the height of row 13 to 42 points. Okay, so select 13, go ahead and do the row height, and we want to go to 42. Step 10, click cell A14. Notice even though the account IDs will be entered in the range A14 to A19, you inserted new cells into A13 and 23 range to retain the layout of the worksheet contents. Okay. All right, 1-15, using flash fill. Step 1, type account ID in row A14. So in A14, this is where we created this spacing earlier. You want to type in, let's see, account ID. Press enter. The label is entered in cell A14. A15 is active cell. You want to A15. You want to type in E2-9010 and press enter. And then you want to type in this E2-9020. Okay, so if you pause for too long, the flash fill goes away. So I want to step 2, enter E2-9010, press enter, E2-9020. So then this is flash fill, pulls up, and I guess it's looking at, so A15, it's saying we typed in E2-9010, and I see in C, well, C, B, and C is making up this value you're typing. So in the next one, when you type it, it mirrors B and C of 16. It's saying, hey, I know this pattern. This is what you want for the rest of them. But if you pause too long, it doesn't autocomplete, and it thinks maybe that you're thinking about entering something else. So at this point, if those are the entries you want, and they are, right? If you look at the information and the instructions, so you would just go ahead and press the enter button, and it would enter the information for you. So flash fill, I mean, it's important when you're working in a lot of spreadsheets and you become maybe a little more, you want to be a little more efficient, right? Not just functional. 1-16, formatting a worksheet. Okay, adding cell borders. So now we're going to try to make it look a little more appealing. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. So step 1, select the range F13 to G13. Right, so row 13. You want to go to F and G. You'll add borders to these cells. So on the Home tab, okay, Home tab, in the Font section, there's this border section. And we want to select all borders. right here, all borders. So what this will do, it'll put a border on 4 sides of the cells, right? So step 3 is select the non-adjacent cells A14 to G19. So A14, let's go to 19 and then go all the way to G. So A14 to G19. So if you press and hold down the Control key and press and hold it until I'll tell you to let it go, and then you select F21. So F21, press and hold down your mouse key and drag it through to G23, and you can release it. So it's not adjacent, right? It's not in parallel with it totally, and then there's a line between them. Otherwise, you could have just drug and held the whole thing down. And you want to apply all borders again, so we go to Home, and we're going to go to all borders. Now, for some reason, if you can't get the whole Control left mouse thing down right away, you could always highlight A14 to G19, select all borders, and then come back here and go and select the range you want here. Go to Home, the border, select all borders, and highlight this as well. The end result is what's important. And if you notice this too, is once you select all borders, it becomes the default selection here, so you don't have to continue select the drop down arrow. You could just hit this radio button and it'll select or apply that setting. Okay. 1-16B, changing the font size. So scroll up to the worksheet in cell A1. Okay. On the Home tab in the font group, click the font size arrow. Okay, and we want to change this to 24. Step 3, they want us to save the worksheet. So go ahead and press the save button, or you can use Ctrl S. Printing a workbook. So we're going to change some of the views in the workbook. So we want to click the page layout button on the status bar. So this is the status bar down here. We want to click the page layout button. Okay, here we go. On the zoom slider at the lower right hand corner of the workbook, click the zoom out button until the percentage 60. Okay, so we want to zoom out, so we want to decrease it down to 60. Okay, so this is showing that if we print it in this format, it's going to be on 2 separate pages. So on the zoom slider, drag the slider button. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped step 3. Click the page break preview button, which will be this one here. Okay, so it's showing us the same thing, basically, where the pages are gonna break, but you could see that in the previous view as well. Step 4, on the zoom slider, drag the slider to the right until the percentage is 80. So you could drag the slider, or you could click the plus twice. Okay, so click the normal button. So if we go back here, this is the normal button, and how you're working with the file. This is how you would normally see it. But with the thing that has changed, being we went and clicked on the page break button, you can see here between D and E, this is where one page. So anything you print would be on this one page, and this would be a separate page. So we're going to make modifications so everything prints on one page, I suspect. So changing and working with page orientation. On the ribbon, click page layout. Okay. In the page setup group, click orientation button and click landscape. So right now we're in portrait mode, right? So in orientation, we want to click landscape and you could see the dotted line pushed out further, but we still would be printing over 2 pages. Okay. Click the page layout button down here in the status bar at the bottom. And as we suspected, it's still printing on 2 pages. 1-17C, setting the scaling options. On the page layout tab, in the scale to fit group, click the width arrow. Page layout. And we're going to go to scale to fit. Click the width arrow and go to 1 page. So we want to go to width. One page. So it's going to fit at the scale where it's going to fit on 1 page. Okay. Step 2, in the scale to fit group, click height arrow and click 1 page. So we're already here. Scale to fit, height, and we want to select 1 page. All right, 1-17D, setting the print options. On the ribbon, click File tab to display Backstage view. So not the Home tab, the File tab. You want to select Print, and it'll give us a preview of the information that will be printed. So you want to select the Print button, which we already selected. And in the settings option, click the top button and then click Print Entire Workbook to print all of the pages in the worksheet, the workbook. Below the Preview tab, click the Next Page button to view the print preview for Miscellaneous worksheet. Okay, so the setting currently is printing only the active sheet. So that's the sheet we're on. So if you go ahead and select the entire workbook, which will include each sheet. So you can see we have 2 sheets. And if you go to the next one, you can see the information we have on that sheet, right? Okay. There's no need to print this out for this assignment. It's more important to know, where we need to end up here. So let's go ahead and exit this Backstage print view. Viewing worksheet formulas. So make sure the miscellaneous expense worksheet is displayed right here. On the ribbon, click on formulas. Well, first thing, let's go back and click on normal view at the bottom. Okay. And on the ribbon, click the formulas tab. And then we want to show formulas. So instead of having the results, it's showing all of the formulas used in this workbook. And I'm going to go ahead and scroll this down a little bit. Okay. When it puts the formulas in, it takes up a little more space. Okay. When you're done reviewing the formulas, click the Show Formulas button again. So we go to Formulas. So it's basically a toggle, either show the formulas or not. So click in the normal view, we already did that. And on the zoom slider, you go back to 120. Okay, so this is the end of this assignment. Save the workbook and then close it. Okay, so we want to save it. And then we're going to upload the assignment so that we could see what we scored. So let me go back to, I still have it open. There we go. So I'm on step 1 of 2. I want to continue, so I want to drag my assignment file into here. You could do that, or if you want to click on it and choose where your file is located to upload it. This is the file I've been working on. So I'm going to double click it, and it's giving me a warning and saying the file name doesn't match what we're expecting the file name to be. So this is what they expect it to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this file name. You can do the same thing by typing it in, right? I'm going to go back to my file, and I can see the file is not named as they want it. So in order to rename a file, you have to first close it. So I want to make sure the file is saved. I'm going to close it, and I'm going to pull up the location I have my file saved. And this is the file. So I'm going to right click on it and rename the file. And if you look at the file name, the only thing it's really missing is my name. So I'm going to go ahead and just type in, of course you type in your own name, right? And as far as the XLSX part, that's the file extension. Microsoft enters that for you, so you don't have to type that in. So do not type that part in, okay? So since I have this window open, I could go ahead and drag this file into here, or I could click on it and upload it, right? So I could drag this file into this box, and it's telling me, looks like it likes the file name, and it gave me the submit button. So once I submit it, it looks like my file is free of viruses, the format's legit, the size is valid for this assignment, and the name matches. So if I click on View Report, it will give us some feedback, right? If you know how we did on the assignment and our score. So when you hit View Report, it actually downloads it. So I'm gonna open up the report. Okay, and it's saying we made an 86 out of 100. So the first thing it's telling me we got wrong is entering text, dates, and numbers. To enter text in the document sheet, in the documentation worksheet, cell B5 should contain the text to estimate miscellaneous expenses at the MedX convention in Boston. So it didn't like the way I typed the text. So I would need to go through the worksheet and provide these corrections. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll reopen my worksheet. And then I need to make sure I have items spelled correctly for sure. That's one thing. And maybe then like some of the things I copied and pasted into it. So, so in the documentation sheet, it's saying in the documentation worksheet, cell B5, okay, should contain to estimate miscellaneous expenses. Okay, so I see my issue right now. I didn't have to estimate miscellaneous expenses. Okay, I'll make this correction. Okay. So I went ahead and added miscellaneous. It was missing in my wording here. It also took off because I did not have a conference. Maybe I misspelled it. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so 5, calculating. So they didn't like some I did down here too. Step 5, calculating with functions to calculate the sales tax and total expenses in the miscellaneous expenses. Okay. So F22 should contain the text estimated tax. So right here, instead of EST, I put EA. So spelling, it will take off the spelling. Okay, so I'm going to correct that. Step 8, modify rows and columns in the worksheet, cell D17. D17. Okay. Should contain flowers. So right here you can see I forgot the F. Make sure banquet spelled correctly. Yes, there. So it's telling me, but it's not telling me the exact things maybe that I'm missing. Let's see here. Okay. So it looks like those are the 4 things I needed to correct. Yeah. Okay. So it gives you your sheet here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to close this. I made the corrections. And what I want to do is I want to resave this. So I'm going to do save as. I just want to know it's coming here. Okay, I'm going to do save. And so what it's telling me now is, hey, Sonny, you have a file that's named this or previous. Do you want to overwrite it? And I want to. I do want to. Okay. So what I'm going to do here, let's see if it lets me backspace. All right, so I want to submit my assignment again. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see, I have the file open. I'm going to drag it into this window. And I'm going to go ahead and submit and view the report. Let's see if I have any other corrections to make. Okay, so it's telling me I got 100 out of 100, so good. The few things we had, we missed, have been corrected. And if I had more things to correct, I would just correct it, save the file again, and then go ahead and resubmit it. So hopefully this helps you. I know I ran a little long on this one. I tried to take my time a little bit more and explain some of the steps a little more thoroughly. Please read the instructions on the assignment and watch the video. And if you have any questions, I mean, look it up on the internet and do a little research. And if you still can't get it, let me know. But please do not wait till the last minute. Once you get behind, it's hard to catch up without putting in the time. So a little bit here and there is better than just sitting down and trying to plow through it the night before it's due or a few minutes before it's due. All right, good luck.